Hello, it's Sunday, April the 6th in the year 2025. God bless you always, wherever you may be. Welcome to Darkness is Falling, video number 382 in this series exposing the Jesuit Vatican shadow empire as the true cause of all revolutions, genocide, war, and deception for the last 500 years, and the one and only candidate for the fourth iron Roman beast system described trampling and crushing the nations in the prophetic books of Daniel and Revelation. And when I describe this empire as a shadow empire, that is what it is. Because you may recognize it once you know what it is, but if you do not know what the empire consists of, you will not see it. It's sitting in plain view, but it's also sitting in the shadows to those who don't know. So this is why I call it the Jesuit Vatican Shadow Empire. It's an important term, which I've used right from the very beginning, because even though I didn't know as much 10 years ago, I at least was able to identify what this shadow empire consisted of according to prophecy in the Bible. Now, before we dive into the video message, I just want to put out here a for your information notice. There was a 4-day delay this week in getting my last video uploaded to the main Darkness is Falling Rumble channel. I still don't know why that was. Please, if you are a regular listener on the main Rumble, Darkness is Falling Rumble channel, and you don't have a backup channel, then subscribe to either my Rumble 2 or BitChute or Brighteon channels. They're all labeled Darkness is Falling. Now, this has nothing to do with subscription numbers, nothing to do with that. Those things don't mean anything to me. 1,000 likes, 0 likes means nothing to me in this ministry. I am not online to get likes and views. Nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'm not here by popular demand. Quite the contrary. So this has nothing to do with anything that a normal social media channel is interested in promoting their channel. This request for you to get a backup channel is for your sake alone. Because if my main Rumble channel should go, if it should be terminated, pulled down, blocked, hindered in any way, you will not get any notification, and you will not know where to reconnect with this ministry without a backup channel option. Now, I don't talk about this almost at all, but I feel a need today to talk about this because of what is happening online to social media channels. They can disappear virtually in an hour, and it's happened to me already 3 times. Now, I mentioned this possibility to everyone in a message a few weeks back, but there was almost no change in the numbers on my other 3 channels. Now, if you don't care about being disconnected from Darkness is Falling ministry, fine. That's okay. But if you do care, then please connect with, or at least know where to connect with, the other 3 Darkness is Falling channels. Now, my videos are on more than 8 different platforms, but I have 4 main channels. 2 on Darkness is Falling, 1 on BitChute, and 1 on Brighteon. The channels could be pulled down or go offline due to censorship at any time, and I have absolutely no control over this whatsoever. This happened to 2 of my YouTube channels in 2021. Terminated with very little notice, and all my work was gone forever. I lost connection with more than 1,300 subscribers then, and another 270 plus subscribers on my YouTube channel, which just stopped functioning without warning in 2024. I still have no idea what happened there. Now, it's a constant battle to stay connected with people online on social media channels. Please consider carefully. I'd hate to see this happen again. There are now more than 3,000 subscribers on the main Darkness is Falling Rumble channel, and I'd hate to lose contact with them, you, all of you. The danger is always numbers. The Jesuit internet controllers don't usually care about hundreds of Christians gathering together online. But they don't like thousands of them gathering and talking about the truth, the real truth, the whole truth. The number 3,000 is both a blessing, because I'm so thrilled that at least 3,000 people found their way to my main Rumble channel. But the number 3,000 also invites closer scrutiny by the Jesuit social media censors. So, the bigger the numbers, the more peril there is to having my channels terminated. And I saw this happen with YouTube right at the beginning of the COVID fake pandemic. So please, get yourself a backup channel. Find The Darkness is Falling on Brighteon, BitChute, and Rumble 2. And at least have one backup channel in case this main Rumble channel ceases to operate. Now, a few things in the news. In an article posted on the BBC website, April 4th this year, and the title of the article was "China and U.S. are at each other's throats on tariffs, is neither is backing down." This is nonsense. I'm just bringing these things to your attention and discounting them, because that is total nonsense. These people, these national leaders, as I've said in many videos, are working together to do what is currently happening in the world. This is not just something that Donna Trump is doing by herself in the United States. No, sir. Now, on another channel, the DW News channel, in an article posted April 3rd, 2025, titled, "Is the U.S. Descending into Fascism?" Interview with Professor Jason Stanley. This is nonsense. The U.S. is not descending into fascism. The U.S. has been a fascistic state for a long, long time, at least since 1933, when Delano Roosevelt, FDR, flipped everything for the Jesuits. So, no, the U.S. is not descending into fascism. It has been a fascistic police state, a latent. It means that it's just been sitting there, ticking over, waiting for the opportune moment to blow up into a full police state since 1933. We have been living in a fascist world for a long, long time, pre-Second World War. And that this applies to the whole world, not just to the USA. So is the US descending into fascism? Is sheer ignorance on the part of whoever put this video together. Now, in another article on the CNN channel, posted Friday, April the 4th, 2025, titled Inside Trump's Defiant Response to the Market's Tariff Meltdown. It says this: the president's tariffs have sparked a market sell-off, foreign retaliation, and anger from corporate America. Now, that is to some degree true. It was provoked anger from citizens worldwide. But there's no anger from the leaders of all these nations, all these Roman governors. There's no anger because they're all in this together. Now, they may look like they have an angry response or a concerned response. They all knew this was coming. It was all pre-agreed. So don't be fooled or deceived by any of these article headlines. Now, on the Maconomy YouTube channel, there was a video posted April 4th, 2025, titled Zeitgeist, Moving Forward, the World After Capitalism. Now, yes, capitalism exists, but really, fascistic business has existed since 1933. True, free, democratic capitalism? No. Excuse me. Moving forward from capitalism to something else? No. That's not true. So once again, you can see that all these people have it wrong. Their worldview and their understanding of who runs the world, what the future is all upside down. It's inverted because they're all humanists. Now, on the Andrei Sikh, spelled Siikh, YouTube channel, posted April the 4th, 2025, there's a video titled The Global Reset Just Started. What You Must Know. No, the global reset has not just started. The global reset started in 1945, like I always say, with the establishment of the United Nations Beast World Government, image of the Beast World Government. But it really kicked into high gear in 2019 with the beginning of this fake pandemic. So please be aware that the headlines, the news article titles don't tell you the truth because these people don't know the truth. They don't understand that the world is ruled by the Roman Catholic Empire and their Jesuit military. They do not understand this, or they don't want to see it, or they won't talk about it, one or the other. The global reset really kicked into high gear in 2019, and it was the fake pandemic that did it. Now, where is the United Nations response to Donna Trump's declarations and threats and actions? Where? Where is the United Nations world government? Once again, crickets. And I'll keep bringing this up because that is the government that rules the world, not the American government. The UN, the United Nations, is being made to look like a lame duck governing body with no power, while Trump is made to look like she is in control of world affairs single-handedly. That is a very clever illusion, but it's not true. Now, there was an article posted on the UN.org website, January 21st, 2025, titled, UN Regrets the U.S. Exit from Global Cooperation on Health, Climate, and Climate Change Agreement. Well, that's nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. There has been no U.S. exit from the... Nobody exits from the image of the beast UN world government. Where are they going to go? To another United Nations? Nobody exits. It's nonsense. So please be aware of what they are saying online. And yes, I've got people milling around me in this car park. Excuse me. Now, it says on that article, and I quote, "The WHO regrets the announcement that the United States of America intends to withdraw from the organization. We hope the United States will reconsider," said WHO spokesman Tarek Jasarevic, hours after the new president signed an executive order at the White House bringing U.S. involvement in the UN agency to an end in 12 months. Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. It says the U.S. joined WHO in 1948 after a joint resolution was passed by both chambers of Congress. The resolution requires the country to provide 1 year's notice to leave the organization. President Trump took steps to withdraw from the WHO in 2020 during his first term, but the move was reversed by the Biden administration, unquote. And it'll never happen. Now, they might want to make you think that it's happened, but it'll never happen because no one exits from the beast, image of the beast, world, United Nations world government. No one exits. It's as simple as that. Excuse me. They are one. But they are just trying to make it look like everyone's doing their independent, sovereign thing, which is not true. Now, there was another article posted on the UN.org website, February the 4th, 2025, titled U.S. Funding Pause Leaves Millions in Jeopardy, Insist UN Humanitarians. You see, they just want you to think that the UN is full of a bunch of old, stodgy humanitarians that are just sitting there meeting every day, but they don't ever do anything. Nothing could be further from the truth. Where do you think UN Agenda 21 and UN Agenda 30 came from? That has now shaped the world into what it is. Did that come from Washington or London or from Russia, from Moscow? No, it came from the United Nations. Those two mandates are shaping the world. Never forget this. It is the UN. I did a whole video called The Image, talking about the image of the beast, UN, United Nations World Government. If you haven't watched that, please watch that because it explains what the United Nations is. So what is happening here with Donna Trump running around looking as if she's controlling world affairs is absolutely false. It's untrue. Now, that article states, and I quote, "The development follows the pause announced to billions of dollars of funding on 24th of January by the U.S. administration, affecting nearly all U.S. foreign aid programs, pending a 90-day review," said P.O. Smith from the UN Sexual Reproductive Health Agency, UNFPA, briefing journalists in Geneva. So they put a pause on funding. Well, there's more going on there than what we will ever be told. Don't believe everything that these news articles, these social media channels tell you, because most of it is wrong. Trump is the Jesuit instrument to wipe out the Palestinians, working together with Netanyahu. Trump is the instrument that sends his navy worldwide to fix up problems for the Jesuits, or problems that they've created that they're then going to look like they're solving. This is how it works, people. It's very, very complicated. It's behind the scenes. But if you know your enemy, you'll know who's pulling the strings, and that it's always a problem, reaction, solution scenario. And it's the Jesuits who are causing all the problems. These things don't start by themselves. Basically, people want to live in peace. And now you can see that the peace, stability has been disrupted once again by the Jesuits, because peace is no good when you want to control the world. When you want to deceive and control the world, you must agitate and divide people and bring them into submission. And the only way you can do that is to do what the Jesuits are now doing. Step by step by step by bloody step. That's how it works. That's how Satan works. He's the god of war, and he demands war of all kinds to disrupt peace, which, for the most part, is godly. Now, in this video, I want to talk about what is happening right now with Donna Trump's so-called presidency, which isn't a presidency at all. Let's call Donna a presidential proxy, because that's what she is. All national leaders worldwide are Roman proxy governors, not elected by the people, but pre-selected from a back room. The back room. That's where people are pre-selected for the next leadership position. So an online dictionary gives the meaning of proxy as this: the authority to represent someone else, especially in voting. Now, who's Donna representing? The people? No, sir. She represents her Roman boss, the Pope. That's who she represents. You got to get this clear in your mind. Otherwise, you will not understand the craziness that suddenly erupts out of nowhere. So Donna has been given the appearance of authority by the Jesuits. It's an appearance. There is no president of the USA today elected by the people for the people. It's all nonsense. And there hasn't been one for a long time, since these presidential proxies are all pre-selected by the Jesuit Inner Council at Georgetown University. Donna Trump is not acting with the authority invested in a real, genuinely independent, authoritative, democratically elected president figure. She is not making decisions based on her own judgment or by the American government, but is carrying out orders given to her by her Jesuit handlers. These people are all rubber stampers. They just do what they're told. Now, until you understand this really clearly and deeply, you just will not understand why things are happening in the world. Now, knowing this to be true, and it is, we can then understand that Donna's tariff war against the nations of the world has nothing to do with what Donna wants, but what Rome wants. And here I am talking again about it seems like I'm talking about politics, but I'm not. I'm talking about the effects that come from decisions made from behind the scenes, which affect all of us. And we need to understand why this is happening and who's doing it. So here I am again talking about Donna Trump. Now, because she is the instrument of the hour to stir the pot, right? That's what we see. So the Trump tariff war is another Jesuit means to an end. It's a means to an end. Donna is Rome's proxy, just as Xi Jinping is Rome's Chinese proxy, just as Putin is Rome's Russian proxy. The aim of economic warfare is never just economic. To think that is absolute foolishness. The aim is spiritual, as I've stated many, many times in past messages. Destroy the jobs and savings of billions of people, and you immediately create a state of poverty with masses of people dependent on the state. This is what the Jesuits want. This is their ultimate goal. In the process of creating this one world unified state, they will need to destroy borders, destroy tribal group identities, destroy social cultures, destroy infrastructure, and even countries. We should not be surprised at any developments going forward. Satan is indeed sifting the nations like flour and bringing them into oneness. It's always about oneness, unity, a one world unified under the beast. Now, the Jesuits need to bring things down and destroy what's left of the current system. And there isn't much left, but they're destroying it. And along with it, the financial independence of billions of individuals worldwide. However, they need to do this and make it look as if it's a mistake of Donna's judgment. Uh-oh, Donna made a mistake. She is not making a mistake. Donna must become the object of people's rage as they lose everything. That's the object. Now, this will continue to hide the hidden hand until it is ready to be revealed, which is sometime in the near future. Now, who knows what will happen within the USA? There are many ideologically opposed and armed groups in the USA prepared to do what they believe is right. And no one quite knows how this will exactly play out. But it will always play out in the Jesuits' favor because they always control all sides. So no matter what happens, the Jesuits will come out on top because they control all sides. Now, please look past what is currently happening and instead look at how this tariff war will destroy what we have known all our lives and will in fact birth a whole new economic and social system like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the old to the new. That's what we're watching. We're watching the old fade from view and the new rapidly come into sight. Now, this has been happening for decades and decades and decades. We're now in a very, very fast transition stage at this last period of time. So things are moving rapidly, and don't be shocked. Like I've said in previous videos, do not be shocked. These things must happen. So this shift from old to new was moving very slowly for decades, but now it has really picked up speed and is rocketing away because time is short. And the Jesuits know this. Satan knows this. He's moving things along quick smart. Now, it's imperative to state here that there is no American oligarchy. If you've been hearing this word, it's a lie. There is no American oligarchy. This is a lie that is being pushed all over the internet. The word oligarchy means a small group of people having control of a country, organization, or institution. Now, this is true in a sense if we talk about the Jesuits, who are indeed a small group, along with their Freemasonic foot soldiers. It's not true, the idea of our oligarchy, if we think that that small group consists of just billionaires and wealthy politicians who have somehow clubbed together and decided to control the world. That's not true. That idea of oligarchy is false. That idea is yet another pernicious idea that hides the truth of Roman control from behind the scenes. In fact, the truth is America today is controlled by a fascist theocracy, which is defined as a government in which priests rule in the name of God or a god, in collusion with business. Now, the Roman Catholic cult is an hierarchy of priests. It is a fascist theocracy, and this hierarchy does indeed rule America, not a business oligarchy, as we keep getting told in the fake social media news. Now, what then is the ultimate purpose of this tariff war, which has suddenly sprung up seemingly out of nowhere? It is very important that we recognize the true purpose of what Donna Trump is doing. This recent move is not her idea, as I said before. It is possible that even she doesn't know the true goal of the Jesuits, but is cooperating out of loyalty to Rome in exchange for status and wealth, in order for her to keep her billions, in order for her to keep her luxuries and her leisure life. She just does what she's told. Does she fully understand? I don't think so. I think only the Jesuits fully understand the full scope of what they're doing and where this is all going. But we can also know a lot about that because they have told us, and even better, God has told us in His Word. Trump isn't smart enough to even come up with this latest Jesuit tariff masterstroke. Remember that the mandate is know your Jesuit enemy. What is the first tactic of war? And I've talked about this in many, many videos. It's to divide your enemy and weaken them. An enemy divided is easy to defeat and conquer. What is the second tactic? Remain hidden so that no one knows who is doing the dividing. Remain hidden. Now, this is the Jesuits following their art of war manual instruction. That when you're near to your enemy, then make them think that you are far away. And of course, no one sees the Jesuits. They are near, but they are almost like invisible. If you don't understand this, then you'll never understand deception, the strategies of satanic deception that the Jesuits have developed over centuries. They are masters, and they use half a dozen satanic strategies of deception to conquer their enemy again and again and again. Now, all eyes are on Donna, which is exactly how the Jesuits want it. So all eyes are on Donna, so no one sees the Jesuit puppet masters pulling her strings from behind. Now, what is the third tactic that the Jesuits use? Provocation. Provocation. That's right. Provocation. If you want to fight someone, first you must provoke them to anger so that they retaliate. This is what Rome is doing. They have been doing this again and again and again for centuries in order to usurp control over the governments and obviously the nations of the world. Now, there are many ways to provoke a reaction from people. There is provocation by words and provocation by actions. Now, Donna levied tariffs against 185 countries and also insulted the nation of Canada. And we'll talk about that at the end of this video a little bit more. You see? Words and actions. Words and actions. You can never separate these two. Jesus always talked about words and actions. The Bible talks about words and actions, whether you're evil or whether you're good. Your words and your actions define who you are and what you stand for. Now, there have been a wide range of responses from different countries to these tariffs. Some, like Singapore, have chosen not to retaliate, hoping to negotiate a better deal. And I will play a video from the Prime Minister of Singapore at the end, near the end of this video. Now, the question is, are all these national leaders working together with Trump to destroy the guidelines of the WTO, or World Trade Organization, in order to impose a new trade paradigm? Are all the national leaders working together with Trump to do this, to destroy the guidelines of the WTO? I believe the answer is yes. They are all under Jesuit instructions to end the existing trade system, because the beast doesn't need everyone trading freely and prospering. He doesn't need it. He doesn't want it. He wants everybody poor and subservient to his control. So the pause is over. I've spoken in many videos about the long pause between May 2023, which was the official announcement of the end of the fake COVID medical war, and March 2025. That long pause is what we've been going through for the last 2 years. The March 2025 was the beginning of the tariff war on the nations. Now, the Jesuits are moving from one form of war to another. While they move from one strategy to another, the weather war rages, and the poisoning war continues unabated. It's all war, people. It's warfare. Everything has been weaponized against mankind by the Jesuits. Everything. Communications, politics, education, culture, medicine. It's all been weaponized against you and I. And I've spoken about this in many videos. And I hope that at this stage, many of you are understanding this. Now, I repeat this because it's so easy to lose sight of what is going on, who's doing it, and why. In the day-to-day affairs of life, it's very easy to forget, to lose sight of who's doing this and why. So it is my duty, my task, to consistently remind people of who their enemy is, why they're doing this, and what does God's word say about it. So, we just move from one form of warfare to another. And there was a long pause between 2023 and 2025. And that was necessary to get people comfortably into the lull, comfortably ignoring all the warnings again. It takes about 2 years for people to forget, even less these days, to forget what was done to them. The Jesuits know this. Pauses, intermittent spaces, strategic spacing is very important in warfare to take your enemy off guard. So, weather warfare continues. The poisoning continues. Now we've got economic tariff warfare hitting everybody. So, the beast was successful getting the whole world marked with his COVID nano micro technologies, whatever you want to call them. And now the beast is moving to another form of oppression, economic warfare. The nations or peoples are being provoked from every angle, and the goal is to totally push them into resigned submission to the one world Roman Catholic dictator who has been ruling for a long, long time, but still remains unseen by the masses. Now, the United States was built into an economic powerhouse built on debt since 1944 for this very purpose. So, here again, prosperity was weaponized and is now being used against the peoples of the world. Prosperity has been made into a weapon. The United States was made into a weapon over 80 years by which to crush the nations. Can you see the connections to prophecy? The fourth iron Roman beast will trample and crush the nations. How? Using all these different methods of warfare. The Roman beast is using its American empire now to economically clobber the nations. That is what is going on. The purpose of this tariff war is renewed provocation. You'll keep hearing this word, provocation, throughout this message. By creating a trade war, the Jesuits are provoking the nations into a reaction or retaliation. Now, the reaction takes the form of nationalism and protectionism. Remember that the Jesuit strategy of problem, reaction, and solution, as I mentioned before, this continually is brought into play against the peoples of the world. The tariffs are immediately viewed as a threat and an attack by the people on economic and social stability and prosperity. Now, it's not coming as a surprise to the tippy-top leader or Roman governor of every nation, because this has all been planned in advance. They all knew that Donna Trump was going to do what she's just done. Now, when prices go up, the value of what a dollar can buy decreases dramatically. The effect on commodities is almost immediate. Businesses have no option but to increase prices and decrease their workforce. Wages and salaries won't increase when prices increase, which then creates wage disparity and widespread poverty. It's not difficult to understand basic economics of supply and demand for commodities and services. Not difficult, people. The Jesuits are simply manipulating the system and using it against the peoples of the world economically. Now, we must take into account many things happening at the same time, which is what we see if we have eyes to see. There's many things happening at the same time. The provocation of the peoples or nations is increasing day by day. People are sick from the COVID tests and injections and are losing the convenient, easy lives that they have known for a lifetime. Businesses are failing and people are struggling to stay afloat. Many young people don't see any hope for the future and are opting out and doing nothing. Economies are becoming shaky as traditional agreements are abrogated. For example, Donna Trump has ignored the terms of the USMCA and NAFTA free trade agreements, as well as the WTO and many others, and imposed new tariffs regardless of the consequences. Now, you don't have to be a genius to figure out what the effect of blanket tariffs are going to be on world trade. This is not difficult to figure out. Now, it seems like madness, but there is a diabolical strategy behind the sudden tariff war on the nations. Now, if you think that the other leaders of the nations, as I discussed before, are ignorant of what Donna planned to do, then you simply don't understand that the world is one, even though it appears to be divided. Don't be fooled by appearances. Does Vladimir Putin know the plan? Sure she does. Does Xi Jinping know the plan? Sure she does. Did Justine Trudeau know the plan? Sure she did. What about her successor, Marcella Carney? Sure she does. They are all in the big boys, big girls club, whatever you want to call it. The G7, the G8, G20, take your pick. Did you know that Carney means circus? That's right. Canadians are in for a rough ride in Marcella's circus. She is a high-level Roman asset, having worked as governor for 2 Jesuit central banks and for the Image of the Beast United Nations World Government. What could go wrong? Ask yourself that. Well, everything, apparently. Canadians are about to get severely shafted again by another pretend nice guy liberal, making all kinds of promises and stoking Canadian nationalism. Carney is working with Trump behind the scenes for Rome. Now, they all are, but most of them don't know it. Only the people at the top. Now, ask yourself this. How does the beast get his one world kingdom with a totally deceived and enslaved population? How can he achieve this? How can he wind the world back 1,000 years to when the Roman Catholic Church had absolute control over Europe? How can they do that? How can he do that over the whole world? The answer is slowly, step by step, over time. Deceptive strategies rolled out one after the other over time. He can't move too fast or he will awaken the peoples from their slumber and they will fight back. Not that they know who they're fighting, but they will fight back. He doesn't want that. The beast doesn't want that. So he moves by stealth, bit by bit, and deceives the people until they are totally trapped, and he has them where he wants them to be. And where is that? Having nothing and being happy about it. Remember that? From the World Economic Forum, we heard it all through 21-22 from Klaus Schwab, who did his job and is now stepped down and retired, I guess. Maybe involved in further devious activities behind the scenes. Having nothing. You will have nothing and be happy. Remember that? That's where the beast wants everybody. That's where we're headed. Except that is a lie also. Because people won't be happy, but they will have nothing. Now, they have already told us where this is going many, many times. So, me having to repeat this is simply for the benefit of those who may be watching this video series for the first time. Now, did you make the mistake of thinking that these world leaders were joking or just kidding around when they said certain things, like in an offhand way? Oh no. They mean everything that they said and that they are saying. Now, in Psalm 2, verses 1 to 3, we read this. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Now, when he says they're talking here about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. This is prophetic. This is a psalm of David. It's prophetic. And this is prophetic for all ages, but it applies in particular to this last time in which we find ourselves. The people are starting to rage. Have you seen it on social media, in the news? Protests everywhere against Donna's tariffs, Donna's tariff war. The people are starting to rage. They are becoming increasingly angry about the rising oppression that they feel both economically, socially, and politically. Many people smell a rat, but they will never understand where the smell is coming from because they have rejected Christ and they don't know their Jesuit Vatican enemy who is pulling all the strings and causing all these effects in the world. Now, right now, worldwide, just as the prophecy says, people are truly imagining a vain thing. They all believe that there is a golden age of man just waiting for them if they can all get past this bump in the road. If they can all just sort out these problems. If they can all just get rid of Donna. Notice how fast they all turned on Donna Trump. They all believe that things are going to get better. This is this false hope that humans cling to continuously. Right in the face of the truth, they all cling to this false hope that things are going to be better tomorrow. They are all willing to fight for it, but they don't even know who it is they must fight to get it. This is the insanity of today. They think it's Trump. They couldn't be more wrong. Trump has become the object of rage. Trump has become the whipping post. You see how the Jesuits deflect all attention away from Rome to celebrity politicians? All these people believe this lie that they have been fed all their lives, that things are always going to get better. Meanwhile, without even knowing it, they have submitted to the papal beast, received his mark injections so that they could save their lives, keep their stuff, and live for the golden age hope. Unbelievable. Now, the kings or leaders of nations have all taken counsel together in the beast image of the beast, United Nations world government. They've all taken counsel together to create a one world kingdom without God. They have chosen their own beast king to rule them. They have all rejected Jesus Christ and his offer of mercy, freedom in Christ. So, God is going to destroy them all when he comes. And you know what? They deserve it. I don't rejoice over it, but they deserve it. These people proclaim freedom while at the same time they are slaves to sin. They love sin. They love rebelling and rejecting God and going their own way. Now, Psalm 2, verses 10 to 12 warns. Here's the warning. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Have they taken instruction? No, they haven't. Verse 11. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Verse 12. Here's the kicker. Kiss the Son. Who's the Son? The Lord Jesus Christ. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Well, you see, it says that Jesus Christ's wrath is going to be kindled a little. But if you read about his second coming, that little bit of wrath destroys the earth and all his enemies. So a little bit of God's wrath is very, very, very powerfully destructive. So the order to kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish from the way. This will happen to all those who refuse to kiss the Son. They will perish from the way when the Lord Jesus Christ returns. And of course, blessed are all they that put their trust in him. So of course, the kings of the earth are not going to listen to or obey this warning. They've made up their mind. And we know from Scripture that they will be destroyed one day very soon. Please be aware that this tariff war, this tariff war is not the Great Reset. The Great Reset is systemic and rolls out over time. It isn't one single thing. Just like the mark of the beast isn't one single thing. Very important to understand this, people. The Great Reset is not one single thing, and neither is the mark of the beast. It's not one single thing. The fake COVID-19 pandemic was the beginning of the Great Reset. It was the start and triggered a collapse of the old system. Everything today is currently being reset. Billions of human bodies were reset with COVID test and injection technologies. Now the very idea of countries and trade is being reset. Personal identities are being reset with biometrics. The financial system is in the process of being reset to a digital blockchain currency. Digital communications are being reset to AI oversight. These all work together to reset life on Earth as we once knew it. Together, these combine to make the great reset of all things. Now, it's important for me to say this because there's a lot of people online, once again, spreading these false notions about what the Great Reset is. And I'm here to set it straight. Now, here are 5 short video clips which illuminate what Donna Trump is doing under orders from her Jesuit handlers to extend the Great Reset to the next stage. This is all about the provocation, creating the Great Reset. Now, please listen carefully to what these 5 people say? They are telling us without telling us the details of what is going on. They may know the bigger story, or they may not be privy to that understanding. Either way, they are pointing to the Jesuit plan unfolding through Donna Trump's agency. Now, the first video is a 5-minute 38 clip taken from a longer CNN video dated April the 3rd, 2025. In it, Jean Charest, former Quebec premier, is being interviewed by Wolf Blitzer from CNN. Please listen carefully to what he says. And I'll see you afterwards.
And joining us now, the former Premier of Quebec, Jean Charest. He's also the former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. Premier, thanks so much for coming in. So what's your reaction to what we just heard from your Prime Minister?
Well, Prime Minister Carney had been very clear, Wolf, that if there were to be tariffs or new tariffs, that Canada would retaliate. I mean, he's always been very, very clear about that. So what I understand, he's announcing today what will be a tit for tat on tariffs for autos. And so that was to be expected. The money that will be drawn from those tariffs are going to go to the workers who in Canada who will be affected. And the automotive industry, our expectation is that the automotive industry throughout all of North America, Mexico will have a very big
So
impact.
what U.S. exports to Canada will be affected, will become more expensive?
Well, he's going to announce that today. I didn't see the last list, so I couldn't really tell you what will be in there. But of course, like everyone else, we're seeking to, and by the way, everyone's aware we hurt ourselves as we do this. The tariffs hurt us. We do counter tariffs. It hurts us also. We're in the world of very bad choices, and we're looking at products for which there are Canadian substitutes or substitutes from other countries than the United States. So it may be in the agri-food area, but we're going to do everything we can to protect our consumers.
So American farmers are going to be impacted big time because they export a lot of stuff to Canada, but you're saying it's now going to be much more expensive.
And we're one of the biggest clients. And you know, the relationship with Canadian farmers, American farmers, is that we sell potash, which is absolutely essential to the farming community in the United States in the spring and the fall. And we supply 80% of it, Wolf. And we don't get it. We don't understand why the administration puts a 10% tariff on potash that hurts American farmers. I mean, it doesn't make sense to us. Same thing for energy. We live in a global energy market. We supply 60% of all the foreign oil, gas sold to the United States comes from Canada. And we sell it at a discount relative to the rest of the market. And there's a 10% tariff on energy. You produce 13 million barrels a day. You consume 20 million. We sell about 4 or 5 million barrels a day. If the American administration wants lower energy prices, well, why are they putting a tariff on energy?
You just heard the Trump Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who was just here with us. He told us that President Trump is, in his words, not going to back off these latest U.S. tariffs. What do you make of what we heard from the Secretary, and what do you see as the path forward right now for Canada and the U.S.?
In the case of Canada, the U.S. and Mexico, what we thought was encouraging news yesterday is that the USMCA, this trade agreement that we have, that President Trump signed in 2018, is maintained. And for us, that's significant because it means that we can give a framework to the economic relationship and avoid what we've been experiencing since the election, day-to-day announcements about tariffs that may or may not happen. By the way, microchips, pharmaceutical products are now on the docket and to come. So the maintenance of the USMCA is a major move for us. It's very important. It's good news. It means, and we will negotiate in good faith, and recognizing that both countries have greatly benefited from our trade relationship, actually. And we live in a world, by the way, let's take autos. We live in a world where no single product is made in one country. It doesn't exist anymore. Whether it's autos or any other product, I mean, that world is gone. So in the automotive industry, parts can go back and forth between the border 5 or 6 times before they're finally assembled in an auto plant. It's so true, Wolf, that I think we calculated probably 50% of what we export to the United States and Canada comes from the United States. Why would you tariff that?
We're seeing markets, not only here in the United States, but around the world, I assume in Canada as well, fall right now in the wake of these latest Trump tariff announcements. How concerned are you that potentially, God forbid, we could all be facing not just a domestic recession, but a global recession?
Well, and when you strip away all the rhetoric and the speeches around all of this, we cannot defy the laws of gravity, too long. And it's pretty simple. Increase cost, increase inflation, increase interest rates, and you're going to get a slowdown in the economy. And we are concerned that there will be a recession. We believe the probability of that is very high, and it not only in the United States but in the world. If the United States go into a recession, so will Canada. And so in that respect, sadly, and all of this was unnecessary. We didn't have to go there. And the view of Canadians, we have a lot of respect for President Trump. He's elected, he's the president, he has an agenda, we want to work with him. And one of the challenges is he has a growth agenda, reducing taxes, deregulating, reducing the size of government, and the tariffs are a direct contradiction to his growth agenda. It doesn't work. And so we want to work with the Americans and our friends and allies to make the right choices, and hopefully that'll happen in the next few months.
Did you hear Charest say, we are in a world of very bad choices? What this means is that Jesuits are pushing everyone into a corner and none of the choices are good. It means basically every man for himself type chaos. Did you hear Blitzer quote Lutnick saying Trump is not going to back off? That's a good indication that this tariff fiasco is for the long haul, for good or bad. And we know it cannot be good for the good, only the good of the beast. Did you hear Charest say at 5 minutes 19, Trump has a growth agenda? Reducing taxes, deregulating, and reducing the size of government. Now, these may well be the three things we see all governments doing soon, if they aren't already. Reducing taxes, deregulating, and reducing the size of governments. Charest says, and I quote, tariffs are a direct contradiction to his growth agenda. It doesn't work. No, of course he's right. But right there is the Jesuit signature. A complete inversion of what was up to 4 days ago or more. So this tells us the inversion is planned, deliberate, and timed perfectly to disrupt the continuation of the old order. Now here's the second short 2-minute 42 video clip from the Democracy Now! YouTube channel posted April the 3rd, 2025. The host is interviewing academic Richard D. Wolff. Listen carefully to what he says. Please watch and I'll see you afterwards.
Professor Wolff, it's great to have you with us again. Well, start off by responding to, and were you surprised, shocked, or do you guess that, well, about 185 countries were going to see increased or tariffs?
On the one hand, we knew something like this was coming. On the other hand, the sweep and the scope of it does make you stop. Mr. Trump is right. It is a changing moment in American history and world history. But I think his representation of what's going on is completely fantastical and has only to do with the self-promotion that he is engaged in most of the time. It was never foreigners who did it to us. This notion of the United States as a victim, we have been one of the greatest beneficiaries in the last 50 years of economic wealth, particularly for people at the top just like him. It has nothing to do with foreigners taking advantage of us. This attempt to make himself strong and powerful relative to others, to blame the foreigner, these are cheap shots that a real president wouldn't do. And there's the most important point. The American economy is in trouble. The American empire is in decline. We don't want to discuss it in this country. We engage in denial, and instead we are striking out at other people, a sad way of handling a decline. The British Empire declined before us, so did all the others. We are now at that point. We had a great 20th century. 21st century is different. You have to face those problems. That's not being done. What's being done is to say we have difficulties, but they're all somebody else's fault, and we're going to solve it by punishing them. I would like to point out, as you suggest quite rightly, Amy, that the rest of the world is not going to sit by. The United States does not have the power it had in the 20th century. It is not in the position it seems to imagine itself. When the Secretary of the Treasury added to Mr. Trump's comments that he warned the rest of the world not to retaliate, that would imply that if they do, there would be escalation. Yes, he said, there will be escalation. Well, nothing will guarantee more escalation than if they do nothing, because then it's an invitation to Mr. Trump to keep doing it as each of these efforts doesn't work.
Did you hear Wolf quote Trump saying, "It is a changing moment in American history and world history"? That tells you that things are not going back to what they were in any way. The idea of the United States as a victim that was taken advantage of badly by other nations is an absolute fiction. It's a lie. Yet many people are going to believe this tale of woe. Did you hear him say, "These are cheap shots that a real president wouldn't do"? That's the hint by an academic elite that Trump isn't a real president, which I've been saying for a long time. There are no real presidents. Did you hear Wolf say that the American empire is in decline? Well, this is a fact, and this has been happening for decades now. The Jesuits are bringing the house of cards down. They're bringing their American empire down. Did you hear him say that the United States does not have the power it did in the 20th century? That's true. It doesn't, because it's being taken away, even though it has a huge military. Things are gradually being eroded so that America's economic power will be destroyed. The purpose is not to just destroy Americans. The purpose is to bring the whole world system down, because America, being the biggest economy in the world and all world trade hinging on the American dollar, is central to this whole program. So it's not about picking on America or American culture or the American people. No, it's about what America is, what it stands for, and what its place is in the Jesuit plans for world hegemony. So the Jesuits designed it that way. America was used as a big stick by the Jesuits to punish peoples on many continents for more than 100 years, and to install a Roman-controlled dictatorship, whether Catholic or Muslim or apostate, Masonic, Christian. It doesn't matter to the Pope, as long as the person put in control oppresses the people and obeys the Pope. Now, it didn't seem to matter, who was in power, as long as they were controlled by the Jesuits. Now, scapegoating the world for problems that the American government's created itself long ago is the story that many naive people are going to believe. They're going to believe Trump's stories. Now, here is a third short 2:07 video clip from the CTV YouTube channel, posted April the 2nd, 2025, which is 4 days ago. The former U.S. ambassador to Canada, David Cohen, is being interviewed by Vasi Kapelos. Listen carefully to what Cohen says, and I'll see you afterwards.
Let's do the converse now and talk to a former U.S. ambassador to this country, David Cohen. He was Joe Biden's ambassador here in Ottawa for a number of years until just a few months ago. Mr. Cohen, it's a pleasure. Ambassador Cohen, a pleasure to see you again, as always. I wanted to start off with the big picture with you, this sort of idea of Donald Trump standing in the Rose Garden talking. I know in Canada we're all saying, oh, wow, we escaped this one round. But my goodness, every other country, and as our last guest pointed out, China and the European Union, like those are not small tariffs at all. Your impression that you could convey to us about how this is going over in the United States and the wider impact of this announcement?
Well, as I was thinking about what I was going to say before coming on here, before the announcement, one of the things I was going to say was that everybody should be a little cautious. This is complicated stuff, and it's going to take a while to sort out exactly what's going on. And listening to your newscast, you and your guests have been doing exactly that, which I think is important because it's going to take a while to figure out what's happening here, but the Rose Garden announcement, the charts that are prepared, Donald Trump has a vision to remake the international global trade order in a way that has never been done before. And you've heard me say in the months leading up to this that Canada shouldn't be too defensive. Yep, they're a target of President Trump, but he's got a much broader target, and that in fact, the issues of trade and of security and of defense go way beyond Canada and Mexico. And I think that's what you saw in this announcement, the ambition of President Trump to remake the trade order in a way that he believes will benefit the United States. So
did you hear Cohen say Donald Trump has a vision to remake the international global trade order in a way that has never been done before? Also, Trump has got a much broader target than Canada. Did you hear him say the issues of trade and security and defense go way beyond Canada and Mexico? That's important to take notice of these comments because these people know stuff. But they can't come out and tell us the full story. Otherwise, they'll be silenced. Now, Cohen said the ambition of President Trump to remake the trade order in a way that he believes will benefit the United States. Now, this guy knows stuff that he can't talk about, like I said, but we can understand perfectly what he is driving at. We hear the word remake twice, and so that is what is coming down the pipe. A remake, a reset. How? Through provocation, retaliation, and yet all these world leaders are working together to do this. They are not being taken by surprise. The Jesuits are remaking the world in their own beast image. Now, here is a fourth short 1 minute 45 video clip from the Bloomberg TV YouTube channel posted on April the 4th, 2025. 2 days ago. The interview is with Melanie Joly, the Canadian Foreign Minister. Please listen carefully, and I'll see you afterwards.
But I think the sort of at the fundamental base of the philosophy behind what the Trump administration is doing is this idea that the United States has been aggrieved in a major way on the international stage on the question of trade. And so that being said, there's also this talk that they're talking about basically non-tariff barriers. So is it clear to you, do you have an understanding of how you sort of can have an exchange rate, so-called, between a tariff rate that the U.S. has imposed and these non-sort of tariff barriers that they're trying to change? Do you have a clear idea of what they want and how to approach that kind of negotiation?
No, I think the only strategy the U.S. is putting on the table right now is they want to have strong hands every time they're negotiating with countries, and they want to do bilateral deals. What is clear is the president wants to do a global reset on trade, and it's his vision to do so. I've had conversations with Secretary Rubio about that. And the question is how much political capital is President Trump willing to spend on a recession? Because we know that this will hurt the economy. We saw markets tanking yesterday, and we know that all this trade uncertainty is going to ultimately affect just consumer habits and at the same time the investment climate. So we know back in Canada that we have to invest in ourselves. We have to do more amongst our provinces and territories to make sure that there's no barriers to trade amongst us. That's the first thing. Second, we're looking to the European Union to be closer, and we're looking to partners in Asia also to be the case.
And this is.
Did you hear Jolie say, and I quote, "What is clear is the president wants to do a global reset on trade. It's his vision to do so." Unquote. That's exactly what all these people are saying. Politicians, diplomats, ambassadors, whatever you want to, all these elite politicians, they're all saying the same thing. There can be no mistaking that this is a short-term endeavor. It is a long-term, and it is war on normal trade relations. So understanding this is very, very important. Now, here is a fifth short 5-minute 25 video clip posted by the Hindustan Times YouTube channel on April the 5th, yesterday, 2025. Now, this is an address to the nation by Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, warning of the impending ramifications of the breakdown of the WTO, or World Trade Organization, process framework and the return of the law of the jungle, so to speak. Does he know, or did he know, that Donna Trump was going to do this? Yes, he did. But it looks like he knows nothing about it. They are all doing this. Please watch, and I'll see you afterwards.
My fellow Singaporeans, I've said before that the world is changing in ways that will disadvantage small open economies like Singapore. Some had previously questioned this assessment, but the recent Liberation Day announcement by the US leaves no room for doubt. It marks a seismic change in the global order. The era of rules-based globalization and free trade is over. We are entering a new phase, one that is more arbitrary, protectionist, and dangerous. For decades, the US was the bedrock for the free market economies of the world. It championed free trade and led efforts to build a multilateral trading system, anchored by clear rules and norms, where countries could achieve win-win benefits through trade. This WTO system brought unprecedented stability and prosperity to the world, and to the US itself. To be clear, the system is not perfect. Singapore and many others have long called for reform, to update the rules and to make the system better. But what the US is doing now is not reform. It is abandoning the entire system it had created. Its new approach of reciprocal tariffs, country by country, is a complete rejection of the WTO framework. The US has placed Singapore in the lowest base tier with a tariff of 10%. So the direct impact on us may be limited for now, but there are wider and more profound consequences. If other countries adopt the same approach as the US, abandoning the WTO and trading only on their own preferred terms, country by country. It will spell trouble for all nations, especially small ones like Singapore. We risk being squeezed out, marginalized, and left behind. We can also expect a strong global response to America's tariffs. Singapore has decided not to impose retaliatory tariffs, but other countries may not exercise the same restraint. The likelihood of a full-blown global trade war is growing. The impact of the higher tariffs, plus the uncertainty of what other countries may do next, will weigh heavily on the global economy. International trade and investments will suffer, and global growth will slow. Singapore will take a bigger hit than others because of our heavy reliance on trade. The last time the world experienced something like this was in the 1930s. Trade wars escalated into armed conflict and eventually the Second World War. No one can say how the current situation will unfold in the coming months or years. But we must be clear-eyed about the dangers that are building up in the world. Global institutions are getting weaker. International norms are eroding. More and more countries will act based on narrow self-interest and use force or pressure to get their way. This is the harsh reality of our world today. We will stay vigilant. We will build up our capabilities. We will strengthen our network of partnerships with like-minded countries. We are more ready than many other countries with our reserves, our cohesion, and our resolve. But we must brace ourselves for more shocks to come. The global calm and stability we once knew will not return anytime soon. We cannot expect that the rules which protected small states will still hold. I'm sharing this with you so that we can all be mentally prepared, so that we will not be caught off guard. Let us not be lulled into complacency. The risks are real and the stakes are high. The road ahead will be harder. But if we stay resolute and united, Singapore will continue to hold its own in this troubled world.
Did you hear Lawrence say the era of rules-based globalization and free trade are over? We are entering a new phase, one that is more arbitrary, protectionist, and dangerous. This is true. Did you hear him say that the U.S. championed free trade for decades? That's true too. He said, now the U.S. is abandoning the system it had created. Yes, because it has served its purpose for the Jesuits and is now no longer needed. He says, and I quote, the likelihood of a full-blown global trade war is growing, unquote. This could possibly happen, but it isn't by accident. Personally, I think trade is going to reduce over time. Trade war? I don't know. Does that benefit the Jesuit agenda for one world system? Maybe. It remains to be seen. Did you hear Lawrence Wong say that global institutions are getting weaker and international norms are eroding? This is true in one sense, not totally. Global institutions are getting weaker, but global, or what should I say, um, the 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 groupings of nations, these organizations are not eroding. So you've got the North American thing with Canada and the United States and Mexico. And you've got a South American or the Latin American, conference, and then you've got the African Conference of Nations, the European Union Conference of Nations, the ASEAN or Asian Conference of Nations. These things are going to remain in place, and they're just going to gradually fade away as the one system takes control. This is personally what I can see happening. It won't take a long time to do this because they're all working together to do it. And you and I have no say in this, so nobody's going to stop it. But they have to do it in a way to keep people deceived until the last moment. So this is true. Global institutions are getting weaker in a sense. International norms are eroding. Yes, and this must take place because in order to bring in a one world system, you've got to change everything. So those things were necessary window dressing to convince the masses, the peoples of the world, that world democracy and freedom actually existed when they never have. Now, every one of these speakers understands what is happening to a degree, but do they know why? I believe that only the ones at the top know why. The ones on the bottom levels don't know exactly why. They may think they do. These people are all humanists, and they know that the New World Order is taking shape, but many of these people are Freemasons and don't understand that the New World Order is controlled by Rome. They are pawns in the game. Now, do these leaders know that Donna Trump is provoking a reaction? I believe they do, but they don't know the Jesuit endgame. They're all going to be taken by surprise at the end when it will be too late. Now, here's another video from the CBC News YouTube channel posted January 27, 2025, more than 2 months ago before the tariffs were a real thing. This video involves Canada and its NATO defense spending, which is not compulsory. It is very clear that the Jesuits are causing a tariff war in order to coerce countries into increasing their defense budgets and spending. In fact, the Jesuits are militarizing the nations by stealth. In other words, the tariff war is another smokescreen which the Jesuit hand is hiding behind. Tariffs are being used to extort the nations to weaponize. And this soon becomes very clear. Now, please watch the video and I'll see you afterwards.
There are a couple of ways Trump could play this card. We can't read his mind, but we can point to what his top economic advisor has said. In a recent policy paper, he argued tariffs could be implemented in a way that offers graduated scales. Countries that are happy to help share the burden and work to be inside the security zone will likely receive lighter tariffs. Basically, the more you share this burden of defense, the more money you spend on your military, the lighter the tariffs against you would be. But in this same paper, there's also another, slightly more threatening suggestion. First, there's the stick of tariffs. Second, there is the carrot of the defense umbrella and the risk of losing it. The risk of losing it, meaning losing the guarantee that the US will defend you.
A prime minister stood up and he said to me, "Sir, could I ask you a question? You're saying we have to pay our bills. If we don't pay our bills, will the United States protect us from Russia?" I said, if you don't pay, you mean you're delinquent? He said, yes. He said, if you're delinquent, we will not protect you.
Now, you might wonder, can Trump actually do this? Effectively ignore the mutual defense clause of NATO if he decides a country has contributed less than he'd like? Because remember, the 2% target was always just a target, maybe even an expectation, but not a legal requirement. Well, first of all, in Trump's defense, the mutual defense clause is vague. It does say an armed attack against one shall be considered an attack against them all, and it orders member nations to assist the party or parties so attacked, using such action as it deems necessary, which can include the use of armed force. But it doesn't have to. So the US may be able to scale its response up and down, or maybe Trump just rips up the agreement and leaves NATO. But it never really even has to come to any of that because it's the threat that matters.
If that threat was delivered to me, would I be comfortable playing chicken with Canadians' security and possibly their prosperity? And the answer is no, that is not a gamble to take. So whether the threat is hyperbole or whether it's real, I think in this context, we have to take the president's threats seriously.
But here's one last thing. Even if Canada is able to convince Trump that it's now suddenly on a path to 2% in just 2 years, even that might not be enough.
I'm also going to ask all NATO nations to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, which is what it should have been years ago.
Certainly, if the U.S. administration is going to take a tough line and push for a higher number, they've got lots of leverage to really increase it. But I think there's a very reasonable consensus outside of Canada that 2% isn't sufficient.
So no matter where that number ends up, it's pretty clear that Canada is far, far away from where the Trump administration wants it to be. And that, in and of itself, is a vulnerability for this country at a time when its political leaders are trying desperately to project strength.
The first thing to consider here is the size of economies for all the NATO economies. For Trump to even demand that other much smaller members of NATO increase their defense budget to 5% is irritating, to say the least. Trump is playing the role of a gangster standover thug, demanding his protection money from his fellow 31 NATO allies and victims. Canada's economy is 1/30th the size of the American economy. NATO is just another extortion racket. By the way, in case listeners don't know, NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was formed immediately after the Second World War. So it's been going all this time. Doing what? Well, apparently it's a deterrent to Russian aggression. What a joke. Russia is no threat to anyone. All these countries are working together in the United Nations. Russia's in the Security Council, along with the U.S. They're all part of the United Nations. Russia is not an aggressor. Russia is not trying to take over the world. Russia is just playing its part and acting as an aggressor, an enemy, when it is, in fact is not. NATO is a joke, an expensive one. Costs trillions of dollars every year. Now, who asked the USA to create an armed force the size that it is, funded to the tune of nearly $1 trillion every year? Who asked America to do that? That military budget is almost the same as the entire Canadian domestic budget. Who asked the USA to become the gangsters of the world, invading foreign countries and interfering in the affairs of other people? Who gives Trump the right to demand people pay more, or they're going to be punished with tariffs? See, there's the provocation, but there's a reason for the provocation, and it's taken me this long to get to it. It's all about military. It's defense spending. Now, this isn't a Trump plan. This is the brainchild of the Jesuits, the worst and most powerful criminal gang in history. This whole tariff war takes on a new significance once we understand the true reason for the sudden big jettisoning of the World Trade Organization and its rules and regulations for fair trading. Everything is hidden until it is exposed. The tariffs are a huge provocation and a stick to instigate anger and fear in the nations, especially small nations like Singapore, and there are many of them. Once again, the Jesuits are fleecing the nations for their military budgets. Could this be a storm in a teacup moment? Personally, I don't think so, simply because of what Bible prophecy says, not what I want to believe. Now, there are experts saying that with the modification of other legislation, the ordinary person won't be affected much by the tariffs. I don't see that happening because everything will be affected all at once. These tariffs have a blanket application worldwide, which will increase the cost of commodities and services significantly. Now, more than 1,000 rallies across the U.S. and the world against Trump are going to make zero difference. People can protest all they want. It won't change anything. When wicked people protest against the rulers of evil that they have pledged allegiance to, then they will be punished even more for protesting. They have rejected God's rulership and will get exactly what they deserve: a fascist boot on their neck and brutal retaliation for resisting the beast. You resist Trump, you're resisting the beast. You resist any world governor, and you're resisting the beast's world order. Now, the Jesuits don't need anything from us. They control all the world's real estate, all the world's money, all the world's businesses, all the world's high tech. They have it all. They just need to bring people into total submission through poverty and mind control. What we see happening now is another move toward that final goal, which is coming closer and closer day by day. Now, I just want to show you something that I came across a few days ago that relates to the tariff provocation to spend more on defense for all the NATO allies. And this might just help you look at things a little bit more closely. So let's have a look at that now. Okay, so this is a screenshot of a YouTube channel called Tom Powell Jr. And I came across this a couple days ago. The title of the video is "Let MAGA Find Out for Themselves Why Canada Isn't to Be Messed With." Now, this channel is quite large. As you can see, it has 157,000 subscribers. And this video, when I took the screenshot, had nearly 59,000 views in 16 hours. So it's not a huge channel. It's not a small channel. But what I was surprised to read after listening to this short video, 3 minutes 58, after listening to the video and then reading the comments under the video, I realized how Donna Trump has provoked intense anger in Canada. There are, I think, more than 5,000 comments. And I would encourage you to go and to this video channel and read the comments. And you will see how militarized Canadians really are. They've been radicalized, militarized. They're all injected, mostly. And they're ready to kill anybody who steps across the border and tries to take their country. And this is all being provoked by Donna Trump's statement that Canada should be the 51st American state. Now, whether that is in fact already reality, which it probably is, and I've talked about this in previous videos, whether that's reality or not is beside the point. The important thing to understand and know is what people are saying, believing and saying about what Donna Trump is doing. Now, this man is a self-proclaimed Gen X, hippie, pot-smoking Freemason. And you can see him do the hand signs if you watch any of his videos. He's foul-mouthed and opinionated, and I have no doubt that this channel is there to sway public opinion and to create division. So I wanted to show this to you because I did not know how radicalized Canadians really are. But they are ready to shoot and kill any American who walks across the border and tries to take Canada away from them, what they believe is their country. So please check this channel out. If you don't want to listen to the videos, just click on the video, read the comments, and you will be very surprised at what people are actually saying about what is going on in the United States. Now, just while I'm here, I want to show you this. Some of you may know this person. This is Sarah Payne, an American academic. Now, this video, and she's done a whole series of videos, whole series of lectures which have been recorded and are spreading on the internet, and particularly by this guy, this channel by the name of Dwarkesh Patel. Now, when you hear the word Patel, take notice of Patel. Patel is an Indian name, and the Patel family are heavily involved in criminal activity in the United States and worldwide. Now, this guy is propagating this woman's lectures. Now look at the title, Hitler's Blunder. Now, this is what people believe, that Hitler made mistakes. No, he did not. Stalin did not make mistakes. Stalin was a Jesuit. He was not making any mistakes. Everything he did was predetermined, pre-planned, according to the Jesuit schedule. Everything Hitler did was pre-planned. He was a puppet on a string following orders. He did not make any blunders. This is what these humanist academics are propagating, these fake histories where they give you some true facts, but then they make statements like this: Hitler made a mistake, or Hitler made a blunder. No, he did not. And I could talk endlessly about what these dictators did throughout the 20th century was no mistake. Pol Pot did not make a mistake in genociding the Cambodian people. He was under orders to do that, and he did that. No mistakes. Now, I just wanted to show you that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of social media channels making statements like this. And this makes it look as if all these dictators were just doing their own thing. They just came out of nowhere, and they were subject to their own authority, which is absolutely not true. And this is why people continue to believe that there is hope for mankind, because they do not understand that everything that has happened has been under Jesuit control. And it was totally pre-planned, right to the present day. So I just wanted to show you this deception. This title is a deception. Hitler did not make any blunders. Okay, I was just amazed that Tom Powell YouTube channel hasn't been terminated. He isn't a good guy. Reading the comments on his videos, it's amazing that his channel hasn't been terminated. So obviously what he's doing plays right into the Jesuit agenda. He is saying exactly what the Jesuit controllers want him to say at the time, so he is no threat. And he is propagating viewpoints that actually help the Jesuits with their program of deception. Now, saints of God, do not be moved by the provocation and rising chaos. Stand firm in your faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Things are going to get a whole lot worse from here. The Bible says so. Jesus said in Luke 21:26, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Now, when you say powers, what does that mean? Powers of heaven shall be shaken. The powers are the satanic kingdom. These are controlled by Satan and his hierarchy of demonic spirits. So that is going to be shaken, and terrible things are going to happen. Do you understand how afraid a person must be to have their heart stop, to have their heart fail? We haven't seen that yet, but if Jesus said it, then it is definitely coming at us. Now, we are not to provoke God to anger like the Jesuits constantly provoke the nations to anger, causing them to rage. We are also not to rage like the nations do. We are a holy nation of self-controlled people living unto the Lord, and God expects us to live separate from the world while we are in it. We are not to provoke God to anger by engaging in sin of any kind. So put that away if that is still a problem in your life, because you will be held accountable for it. Don't provoke God to anger. Now, in Hebrews chapter 3, verses 7 to 11, we read, wherefore, as the Holy Ghost says, today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts as in the provocation, in the day of temptation in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my works 40 years. Wherefore I was grieved with that generation, and said, they do always err in their hearts, and they have not known my ways. So I swore in my wrath, swore in my anger, they shall not enter into my rest. Notice that provocation and temptation are linked together. As in the provocation in the day of temptation in the wilderness. Where do you think we are now, people? We are in a wilderness. We are being tempted. We are being provoked. Do not react to this. Do not succumb to the temptations, because they're going to increase. The temptation to do something silly, the temptation to wander away from the narrow path is great. And many people, sadly, are doing this, and I'm watching it happen. We are not to provoke God, and we are not to provoke each other. Provocation is carried out in order to get a reaction. As God's holy people, we are not to react, but to think and pray and then act. There is a huge gap in these two different responses to a provocation. You can react or you can act. They are different. One is based in emotion, the other one is based in logic. One is led by the human spirit, one is led by the Holy Spirit. Now, there is nothing really that anyone can say or do that should provoke us as God's people to such a degree, causing us to react in an ungodly manner. Nothing. Not if you're being led by the Spirit of God, not if you're living inwards in God's Word, and not if you're living holy. There should be nothing that you can be provoked by. Nothing. Now, in Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4, we read, "And you, fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord." Now, how many fathers did exactly the opposite and ended up with angry, rebellious children? Maybe you can identify with this, because I certainly can, because that's what happened to me. My father provoked me to anger again and again and again until I left home. That's not what I wanted. So, how many fathers provoked their children to anger and supplied the world with multitudes of angry, rebellious children who then grew up to become angry, rebellious adults? This is where the provocation starts, people. It starts in families. And this is happening in many families with angry fathers who produce angry children. And then the provocation is carried on outside of the family by school teachers and church leaders, and from there to employers and friends and other groups. Provocation, anger, rage, and then finally rebellion, sin, and at the end of it all, death. Is provocation a big deal? Yes, it is. We are surrounded by it. We are confronted with it daily. So we had better know how to handle it in a calm, godly way. Now, if you ever wondered how did people become so angry and hostile, now you know that it starts with provocation at a very early age. Excuse me. Now, if you're listening to this message and are not a Christian, not saved, not born again of the water and the Spirit, not tested or injected with the COVID vaccines, then I urge you to repent and turn back to God. Do it today. It's not too late to exit from the dark TikTok beast world matrix reality we now live in, which is getting darker by the day. And we can see this with the rise in provocation. There's a reason for why I make every video message that I do. It's because this is what God has laid on my heart. This week, I had no idea what I was to speak about while I was researching and checking and doing many, many things. And then yesterday, I woke up and God spoke to me very clearly and said, talk about provocation and its effect on not only the peoples of the world, but also God's people, my people. Talk about it, explain it a little bit, and illustrate what is going on. So that's what I'm doing in this video. Now, please consider carefully where you are at spiritually right now and do what God is telling you to do. If you're listening to this video, maybe you're listening for the first time, listen to what God is saying to you and obey Him. Don't wait. If there is ongoing sin in your life, get rid of it. Stop it. You know what you are doing wrong. You don't need me to tell you what that is. I'm not here to point fingers at you and at your sin. I'm here to point you to the solution. Jesus Christ is the solution to all the problems. Now, your conscience is telling you what is wrong. Stop sinning and get right with God. There's no excuse. Get rid of all the false teachings. There's no excuse for false teachings. This video channel now has up going on past 400 videos that expose all the false teachings and explain what is right. There is no excuse to not know what the false teachings are and to get rid of them out of your life. Do it because they will stop you from entering the kingdom of God. God cares about what you believe. And if you are believing false teachings, you may not be saved. It's that serious, folks. Time is very short. Get rid of the sin. Get rid of the false teaching, which is also sin. Did you know that? Heresy is a sin. If you cling to heresies, you will go into the lake of fire at the end. The warning is very, very clear in Revelation, Galatians 5, and 1 Corinthians 6. I hope that you have ears to hear and that you're taking heed of the warnings that are coming through not only in this video, but also in all my previous video messages. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I pray that God will continue to open your eyes as you search for the truth on all things, and your ears, your eyes and ears, as you search for the truth on all things regarding the will of God for your life. I'll put all pertinent links in the description box below if I can. Please go there. Please get a backup channel. Please know where to go if any of my channels are terminated or deleted. Please have an alternative where you can go if you want to continue listening to these Darkness is Falling messages. Please share this information with others as you're able. Please go to darknessisfalling.com, my website. There's a lot of resources there. All my videos, all my blogs are there. Please go there, read them, download the videos, share them while they are available online, because I have no idea when they will terminate me from the internet. It will happen at some point. So go to darknessisfalling.com and use those resources. Download the videos, share them, record them so that if I do get deleted, and if you want to listen to those messages again, because they're packed full of information, then you can. And I would encourage all of you who are following this channel, this ministry, please go back and re-listen to some of these messages. Because I take time to pack lots of details, lots of information into 2 and 3 hour, sometimes 4 hour videos. You cannot remember all of that in one hearing. You just can't. Please go back, listen again, and you will be surprised at how much you forgot or how much you didn't remember. This is what you need to do when you're learning. You need to keep going back and rereading, reviewing what you heard before, because you will remember 80% of what you heard the first time. That's just a fact. That is understood. As a teacher, I know this. This is why I keep repeating certain things from video to video, because I know that people forget very easily. I've been teaching for a long time, so I think I know what I'm doing. So please go to darknessisfalling.com and use those facilities, all that information on all those pages, which took years to compile. Use that information while it is available to you. Now, as I've been saying in previous videos, I may suddenly be unable to post anymore, and I thought that was true this week with my main Rumble channel. I thought that my last video, Airplanes, was the last one. But 4 days later, the video was able to be uploaded. So who knows? This could be my last video. I never take this for granted. All truth online is eventually going to go, folks. So get ready for it. Record whatever you can. If you have found it useful, if you want to use it for sharing or for listening to again, please record things. Take the time to do this, because don't just take it for granted that it's going to be there tomorrow. It may not be. We are living in perilous times, and things are changing rapidly, particularly online. The Jesuits control online completely. Do not think that things will just stay there. They will not. Many things have already gone. They've disappeared. The internet is not what it was even 5 years ago. And certainly not what it was 10 years ago. Wow. Huge, huge change in the internet. Lots of information has disappeared. So please consider that carefully. I pray that God would keep and bless you all in the perilous days that lie directly ahead of us. And things are ramping up, people, so get ready. So I hope that I'll see you in another video message. And I pray that God will bless you. Until then.